it's we have one more day after this to have class.
我们今天还明天课程就结束了。
So even today, I would like to present some gifts.
今天我要呈现礼物。
And the gift for all of you is chocolate from chocolate candy. That it's going around. Is it? Send it around again. You have to eat all of it.
这是巧克力，每一个同学都拿到了吗？哈，你们要把它全部吃光了。
And there's more.
还有更多。
This is called Hershey's chocolate.
这个巧克力叫做赫须巧克力哈。
Hershey, Pennsylvania is about an hour and a half away from where I live.
Hershey 在美国宾州，距离我住的费城大概有北边一个半小时的车程。
So my wife thought that would be a good gift from us.
所以我太太想，这是给大家一个好的礼物啊。
And then for the seminary library, I have several things.
那要送给神学院的图书馆，我有几本书。
These books are from Melville Stewart, who is an alumnus of Westminster Seminary.
这个书的作者是Melville Stewart， 他是西敏神学院的校友。
And he ministered in China for years.
他在中国大陆侍奉有多年了。
And you can see that 3 out of 4 of these are in Chinese.
所以你看这3本书，一共是那3本都是中文翻译的啊。
They're related to apologetic issues in science and Christian faith.
这个跟我们基督信仰与护教学都是有关的主题。
So could I give them to you?
谢谢。这是会在神学图书馆哈，我们大家可以在图书馆来参阅。
And then also for the seminary library, my latest book of Redeeming Mathematics.
因为这是老师自己写的救赎数学哈，重建数学是老师亲自写的，感谢主。
Another copy for my good friend and helper, Dr. Liu. 谢谢。
谢谢。
I really appreciate his work in translating and interpreting.
我们感谢主，我帮老师翻译。
So now we're discussing the millennium still.
现在我们继续来谈到这个关于千禧年这个议题。
And finally getting to Revelation 20, which the premills think is their key passage.
启示录第20章呢，千禧年派认为是他们最主要支持的经文。
And you will remember that they have 4 major points about this passage.
你记得他们论到这段经文，他们有4个要点。
But the amills and postmills have replies to all 4 points.
无签跟后签的学派都回应了这4点。
So we're going to look at all 4 of these points.
如果我们要仔细看这4点。
But beginning with the last one, the idea that Revelation is to be read in a fairly literal or straightforward way.
那就是针对前签说这个启示录这里要直接照字面阅读，我们怎么回应呢？
And this approach of literalism, I think, is undermined once you take into account the biblical theology of the already and not yet.
如果像这样照字面讲解的话，其实是会弄松弄垮这个圣经最主要强调这个所谓已经尚未这个重要的这个架构。
And one of my students relabeled the not yet part as yet to come.
我有学生呢就说这个尚未，就是说要把它说成是尚未来临，尚未实现。
I rather like that because it's a more positive label.
因为这个尚未如果加上尚未来临、尚未实现，应该会带出更正面的意义。
But the biblical theology, and it's in Gerhardus Voss, says that many of the Old Testament prophecies are fulfilled in 2 stages.
那正如这个圣约神学，我们知道霍志恒所说的，旧约许多的预言呢，在新约的应验是分成2个阶段。
There's a down payment in the present age.
第一个，首先是在赐下，在像付了头款一样，这个在第一个阶段。
And there's a full inheritance in the future, in the new heaven and the new earth.
第二阶段是在未来将来这个最后完全实现的，完全承受产业的时候。
When somebody buys a house or apartment here, do they usually give a down payment?
Yes. 在这里买房子、买公寓，首先你要付头款嘛，做保证是。
Well, that's what the analogy is.
那就是这个类比，这个意义就在这里。
And the New Testament, even in Ephesians 1, for instance, uses the word arabon, which means down payment.
那在以弗所书1章14节说到这个圣灵做我们得基业的这个凭据是值，这个字就是头款的，这个保证的意思。
And it says that the Holy Spirit is the down payment for our inheritance.
那个经文说到圣灵是我们得基业的凭据，这个保证头款。
And my point is that the down payment is real money.
那我的重点是说，这个今天讲到头款付款是真的钱啊。
It's actually part of the total cost of the house.
是整个房子所房价的这个一个部分，主要的部分。
And similarly, what we have now is a portion of the real inheritance of the last times.
这个类似来说，我们类似的类比来说，我们现在已经得到了将来最终要实现整个这个救恩产业的一个部分了。
Now that's a basic summary of this already and yet to come structure.
这是把以上所谓这个圣经已经跟尚要来临的这个架构做了一个说明。
And now you can apply it to Revelation 19:11 to 21.
你可以把这个架构应用到19章11到21节启示录。
That passage is about the rider on the white horse and he conquers the beast.
那段经文是说到这个骑在白马上的这个得胜者，他得胜了这个击败了兽。
And different interpreters have interpreted the passage in one of 2 ways.
那么不同解释者就把这段经文做不同的2方面的解释。
Some of them say that this is the spiritual war that is happening now and the conquest through the gospel.
有的第一个解释说，这是讲现在我们的属灵征战已经在福音书说到主耶稣在第一台已经得胜了。
And others say that it describes the final war in connection with Christ's second coming.
另外有人说，这段经文是指到耶稣基督第2次再来的最后的大战。
Now, I've already told you, I think that it's about the final war.
那我已经告诉过你，我认为这应该主要是指最后的大战。
But there's a hermeneutical challenge because a similar language could be used for spiritual war now.
那启示录这本书带给我们很大的挑战，是因为这样的用语，这个战争呢，可以用来在前面发生的这些战争。
And it's partly because of the larger context of Revelation that I believe what I believe.
那当然根据整个启示录整个大的架构来说，我是所以这样采取我所相信的立场。
It's not just the argument that Christ is riding on a white horse and that must be the second coming.
那就是说，不能说因为主耶稣骑在白马上得胜，就一定是只能指耶稣第2次来。
Or Christ is defeating his enemies and therefore that must be the second coming.
因为人们说耶稣击败他的仇敌，这样看这些字眼，不能证明一定是讲耶稣第2次来而已。
Because in other contexts, similar language could be used for the spiritual war in our time.
因为在其他的这个经文呢，说到这样同样的用语，可以说到现今我们所正在经历的属灵征战，也可以使用这样的描述。
Now, similar observations apply to the language about the binding of Satan.
另外这样子架构也可以说在就捆绑撒旦的上面。
There are verses in the New Testament that speak of a restriction and on Satan's activity and a triumph over his kingdom.
那在福音书里，圣经其他经文已经说到，撒旦已经被主耶稣制服，他的国度已经被主耶稣击败、限制住了。
I intend to come back to these passages when we talk specifically about the binding of Satan.
我想待会儿我们讲到捆绑撒旦的时候，细节我们再回到这些经文来看。
But the point is that the already and yet to come structure says something about the defeat of Satan.
那重点是这个已经跟上要来临的这个架构已经说明了有一些讲到什么叫做捆绑撒旦。
We know that he's already been defeated in a decisive way in the cross.
我们知道撒旦已经被主耶稣在十字架上已经致命的决定性的这个击败了。
We know that there will be a final defeat later on in connection with the second coming.
我们也知道将来有个最终撒旦彻底完全被击败，在主耶稣第二次来的时候。
Or if you are a premillennialist, you think it'll be 1,000 years later than the second coming.
那如果你是前派的话，你就会认为说是这个耶稣在来之后还有一个千禧年之后，撒旦才被彻底击败。
And that is yet to come.
那就是将要来临的。
But these two stages are organically related.
那这个第一阶段和第二阶段其实是合一在一起，有机的合一在一起的。
In fact, theologically speaking, both of them are based on God's triumph through Christ in the cross.
这个第一阶段和第二阶段都是根据主耶稣就在十字架上的得胜是上帝的这个成就计划。
So if you read about a defeat of Satan, it is not immediately clear hermeneutically which defeat we're talking about.
所以当你这里看到说撒旦被击败，那是指哪一个是第一次的还是第二次的，这个还不太清楚。
And finally, the same pattern occurs with respect to the theme of new life.
最后这个架构也论到这个所谓新生命。
We know that we receive new spiritual life through the regeneration of the Holy Spirit.
我们知道我们得到新生命是在圣灵里被重生。
And Colossians 3:1 indicates that this is a spiritual resurrection.
哥罗西书第3章第1节是说这是灵命的复活。
Let's read Colossians 3:1 together.
好，我们请一起来念到哥罗西书第3章第1节，请。所以你们若真与基督一同复活，就当求在上面的事，那里有基督坐在神的右边。
Well, the verse doesn't doubt that we have been raised with Christ.
这里其实是用反问句，事实上意思就是说我们是真的与基督一同复活了。
That is the language of spiritual resurrection.
这个就是讲到是灵命的复活。
And then that's already taken place.
已经发生了。
Then in verse 4, you look for a future fulfillment.
那第4节你看到一个未来要成就的。
Let's read that verse together.
我们第4节一起念，请。基督是我们的生命，他显现的时候，你们也要与他一同显现在荣耀里。
Christ already is your life.
基督已经是你的生命了。
But his appearing will result in the full realization of that new life in you and me.
当他二次再来显现的时候，会彻底的实现这个他在我们里面的生命，拯救我们的完全的实现。
So if we pick at random out of the Bible a passage about new life, it is not immediately clear what stage it will be referring to.
换句话说，如果你翻到一段圣经经文说我们得到新生命，那你还不太清楚这里是指耶稣基督第一次来带给我们这个新生命，还是他最后再来要完成成就的新生命。
We know that there is yet to come the resurrection of the body.
我们知道将来要临到就是我们身体要复活。
Now, all these 4 points here are instances that show the already and yet to come pattern.
那所以这四点都显示出这个已经和要来临的这个架构。
And it means when we think about literal interpretation that maximal literal approach is not necessarily right.
所以这样说来，前派说一定要照字面解释才能够最极端的尽可能照字面解释的话，那你还是搞不清楚是讲耶稣第一次来和第二次来时候成就的事情。
A maximal literal approach tends to assume every time you've got a verse that it's about this.
极端照字面解这种前线讲法，就是每一次你看到这些字眼的时候，你就会想的是呢，最终要实现的发生这些事情。
Then when you've got an obvious contradiction to that in Colossians 3:1, then of course people will say, oh yeah, we see that.
那当你指出哥罗西3章1节说这不是讲第一次的时候，那不是矛盾的吗？他们说我们也看到了。
But then when you come to Revelation, you have passages that are less obvious.
那当你来到这个启示录有些经文的话呢，它是看起来是不那么清楚明白的。
So I believe that once people understand the already and yet to come, it should caution them against a kind of simplistic or naive literalism.
所以人们如果清楚这个已经跟尚要来临这个架构的话，他们来读到启示录这些比较不清楚经文的时候，他们就不会那么天真的去主观的断言说他一定是第二次来的时候。
Underneath all of these is the reality of union with Christ.
那这一切都说明是讲到我们与基督联合。
And if you are spiritually united to Christ, you're united to everything that he's accomplished.
所以在基督耶稣里与主基督联合，那换句话说是他在他所有他所成就的救恩的各个里面各项里都是联合的。
So you already have the benefits of Christ's work.
所以你已经领受到基督耶稣他第一次所成就的这个恩福。
But those benefits are so deep and broad that they are accomplished over a period of time.
那基督耶稣的这个带给我们的恩福是如此长阔高深，它是这个是一直这个救恩涵盖的是很广，一直到不同的阶段时期都在内。
They come to full realization in the new heaven and the new earth.
那最终会在新天新地里面完完全全的最终实现。
But now, because it's all about union with Christ, you can see that the similar language is actually appropriate for all of the two stages.
那既然我们在基督耶稣与他联合，在他所有恩福上联合，所以这个是完全适合应用在他第一次来已经和第二次来要彻底成的都适合的。
So I think we should not feel apologetic or embarrassed about this kind of use of language.
所以我们看到圣经启示录有这样的用语，已经跟尚未这种架构，我们不需要觉得好像很困难，或是觉得好像没办法讲清楚，觉得很丢脸。
We shouldn't be disappointed and say, well, God should have spoken more clearly.
我们不应该心里想说，上帝啊，你应该把它写得更清楚，不是更好吗？
Because it's very clear that both of these things are related and based on union with Christ.
因为这个最清楚的中心就是这两个阶段都是根据我们与主耶稣的联合，这才是最重要的。
And theologically, that's more important and more central than figuring out in every case, well, just what stage are we talking about?
就我们学习认识神学来说的话，这个中心是与主联合，它重要性远超过你在这个地方看看经文就点说这个是第一次，那个地方第二次，那个还是次要的。
Now, that means if we go back to this list in premillennialism, that we've got an answer to the last category.
所以这样说了，我们回答前派的最后一点，说一定要照字面直解。
We can't assume that the most straightforward reading is the most loyal to what God actually means.
我们可能有人会假设说，如果越照字面直解，就是越忠于圣经神的话的意思。
Well, neither can we assume that an interpretation in terms of an already stage is always the meaning.
我们也不能假设说每一个经文都是将来已经实现，不管到未来将要实现的事情。
So the message is you've got to look at each passage and each book of the Bible and look at it in depth.
所以这样说来，那两个假设都是不对的。我们看每段圣经经文都要根据上下文很深入看到它所讲的包含的意义是什么。
So that is my answer to this premillennial tendency to think in terms of maximal literalness.
以上就是我对这些前线派说所有经文要照字面尽量直解这种讲法，以上是我的回应，不要忽略这个 已经跟尚未临到这个重要的环节。
Now the next issue is the issue of the chronological order of events.
下面就是所谓讲到这个启示录记载的事件发生的时间先后次序。
And you can see that actually this is somewhat related to the issue of literalness.
那你可以看到说，这个事件发生记载的次序是先后，这个跟那种要照字面直解是合在一起的想法。
Because as I pointed out, the kind of naive reading of Revelation might tend to assume all these passages are arranged in strict chronological order.
我已经说过，这个比较天真想法是以为19章先发生，20章、20、21章一定按照时间先后次序来记载，这是比较单纯的天真的想法。
So again, this in some respect, the simplest or naive thing is just to say, oh, these events happen one after the other.
简单天真的看法就是这些章就一章跟着一章是按照时间先后的次序。
And then as we observed from the public lecture, that already leads to a premillennial order.
那如果是这样讲法的话，照着这个我们公开讲过说，它就一定带来所谓前谦派的这个次序的这种结论。
So the coming of Christ, the second coming is in chapter 19.
所以讲耶稣第二次来，他们说是在第19章所说的。
And then the millennium is the passage right after that.
所以然后第20章就是所谓的银色时代，就是所谓千禧年。
But then as I pointed out, you can also interpret the same material in terms of recapitulation.
那我也可以我已经讲过，按照这个重复循环来看的话，你可以这样子来解释。
So the last battle then is described twice, once in Revelation 19 and once in Revelation 27 to 10.
从重复循环角度来看的话，这个最后的大战记载了2次，19章有讲到，20章也讲到了。
And that means that you were cycling through the same period twice.
这就是说到你把同一个时期重复的循环讲了2次。
And then this slide shows what it looks like when you put it on a timeline.
那如果你把这个时间表这样看的话，你就可以看出来是重叠循环的出现的。
And then the next slide, I've mentioned several evidences in favor of this theory of recapitulation.
那接下来这个投影就我举出许多证据来支持这个在循环的重复的讲述在启示录里面的讲法。
But actually, in addition to all these, you could add one more.
那这些之外，你还可以加上一个。
Because unlike the public lecture, you in this class, you've been through with me looking at the structure of the entire book.
那在公开讲座学的他们是有限，你和我在这个课程里面已经很仔细从头开始讲到启示录整个这个从头到尾的架构。
And you will remember that the first instance of the second coming is already there in the opening of the sixth seal.
在这个对天使吹号第六不是第六印，就是第六印揭开的时候，已经讲到耶稣基督再来了。
And that's chapter 6, verse 12.
那是第6章第12节。
So if you see how crucial it is, the question of whether that is the second coming.
所以你看那个问题多么具有关系，因为在第6章第12节已经讲到耶稣第二次来了。
Because if the second coming is being described that early, then clearly you've got to go back and do some recapitulation.
既然主耶稣第二次来已经在第6章已经讲的话，后面再讲，当然这是你要注意这个循环重复的。
And then I argued that there were actually 7 cycles, 7 times recapitulated.
在启示录前面我已经讲到了，讲了总共有7个循环了，7个重复的循环。
And each time looking at the period we're in from a slightly different point of view.
那每一个循环都是来讲到同一个大的时期，只是用稍微不同的角度来看。
Well, by the time you've seen that several times, you are more prepared when you come to Revelation 20 for the possibility that the same thing will happen a final time.
当你看到这些重复出现循环的时候，当你来到第20章的时候，你当然会想说，哦，这也很可能是在讲循环里面重复讲过的事情。
And that's one reason why I said this thing of I'd rather defend premillennialism from Zechariah 14.
这是为什么我说我不会像前先派用启示20章来辩护他立场，我可能会如果我是他们那样的，我会用撒迦利亚书那个14章来辩护，看来比较有可能。
Because my view of Revelation includes this recapitulation element.
因为我读启示录，我的确是看见包含这个所谓重复循环的这个架构在里面。
So when I come to Revelation 20, it's a very debatable thing what the chronological order is.
所以当我来读到启示录第20章的时候，所谓的里面发生事件时间次序的话，就有很多可以讨论的了。
Okay, so that's the issue of chronology.
这是所谓讲到这个时间先后次序的议题。
The next issue that the premills focus on is the issue of the first resurrection.
那第二个接下来议题就是前先派所强调他们是第一次复活是什么意思。
Now again, you've heard about this already in the public lecture.
同样你在公开讲座已经听到我讲的了。
But I do want to mention that most premillennialists, I think, view this as their strongest point.
我已经说过了，这个前线派的大部分都认为这段经文他们是最强有力的证据。
Many of them might be ready to say, well, it's possible that there's recapitulation in Revelation.
许多这些前线派者也说，这样说来，这是有可能20章讲的是重复循环的事情。
But it's not possible that the first resurrection is anything other than bodily resurrection.
但他们坚持说，是这里说到第一次的复活一定是身体的复活，没有别的可能。
Now remember, the first resurrection takes place at the beginning of the 1,000 years.
你记得这个头一次的复活是在千禧年开始的时候。
And we know from other passages in the New Testament that the resurrection of the Christian dead takes place when Christ returns.
你记得圣经其他地方说到，耶稣基督他第一次来的时候就会带来基督徒的这个身体复活。对不起，耶稣再来的时候，对不起。
1 Thessalonians 4, for example.
那特别说帖撒罗尼迦后书那所说前书所说到了。
So if the premills are right, if this is bodily resurrection, their view is established.
那如果他们说这里是明显的是讲耶稣是第一次复活是千禧年刚开始的，那么他们的立场就有证据了。
You got the second coming of Christ and then the 1,000 years.
那就是耶稣基督复活，耶稣基督第二次来之后就带来了这个1000年开始了。
And now the premillennialists bring in supporting arguments.
那然后前先派就把一些支持证据带进来了。
The word, I think the underlying Greek word here is anastasis.
那这个复活这个字的希腊文是 anastasis。
And they look at other passages in the New Testament, and every one of them is about bodily resurrection.
他们就经文汇编查一下新约其他使用这个字呢，上下看都是指身体的复活。
And they point out that the immediate preceding verse is talking about people who are beheaded for their testimony.
他们也指出前面一节20章第4节说到这些是殉道者被斩首的灵魂复活。
They have been martyred.
他们被他们殉道被杀。
And the obvious remedy for that, the obvious reward, it would be bodily resurrection.
那很明显给他们的这个奖赏就是身体复活。
Then the final point is that the immediate context of Revelation 20 gives us no clue that this language of first resurrection is anything other than bodily resurrection.
那然后他们又说这个上下文看来呢，并没有给我们任何证据说这里是一个比喻的说法，所以应该要解释到字面直解。
And through the centuries, the amillennialists and postmillennialists, I think, have had difficulty fully refuting this argument.
那这个几个世纪来呢，我看这个后签派跟无签派要来反驳前签派对这段经文的立场，看来是有些困难的。
So the amillennialist or the postmillennialist says 2 Peter 3 shows that the new heavens and new earth comes right after the second coming.
他们说从彼得后书3章说到这个耶稣基督一来就引进了新天新地，没有中间的千禧年。
And we must interpret Revelation 20 in the light of this clear teaching in 2 Peter 3.
他们就说我们应该用这清楚教导的彼得后书第3章来解释这里启示录20章比较不清楚的经文。
Now that's basically a good hermeneutical principle.
那基本来说这是个好的解经原则。
Scripture interprets Scripture.
以经解经。
And the clear is used to interpret the less clear.
所以用清楚经文解释比较不清楚的经文。
And you do that because you know that God is consistent with himself.
因为你这样做是因为这上帝是圣经的原作者，他所讲的话都是合一的。
It's worth my underlining. Not all of these positions can be right.
所以这样说来呢，这个原则让我们看到这个经文所以他们前派所说的不是都对。
So the amillennialist says, well, 2 Peter 3 is the clear passage.
因为这些后或无派说彼得后书3章是很清楚的指示。
And the premillennialist responds, yeah, get out of here. The premillennialist responds by saying, Revelation 20 is the clear passage.
但是前派回应说启示录20章是很清楚的经文。
We must interpret 2 Peter 3 in terms of Revelation 20.
我们应该用反过来启示录20章去解释彼得后书3章。
And it must be that 2 Peter 3 is just omitting some of the details that belong to the whole complex of the events of the last times.
他们说彼得后书第3章是因为事件比较单纯简略的描述后来要发生的有千禧年，他们就没有提示很简略的表达。
Now, it's well to understand that this is a challenge on both sides.
那这个我们大家都要承认，这对双方立场都是一个挑战啊。
And this is one reason why not every Bible-believing Christian is right now agrees to one single position.
就是为什么不同的基督徒都信靠上帝，相信圣经的，对这一点上呢？不是统一的看法，原因之一。
The amillennialists have also said this first resurrection refers to regeneration.
那无谦派说，这个头一次的复活是指向重生。
John 3 teaches that we have new spiritual life through the work of the Holy Spirit.
约翰福音3章说，借着圣灵，我们得到重生的新生命。
And Colossians 3:1, as we have seen, calls that a resurrection with Christ.
那么在哥罗西3章1节，我们读到，我们已经与基督一同复活了。
So that's what the first resurrection is referring to.
那是他们说，这才是这里所说头一次复活所讲的。
And the premillennialist says, I believe in regeneration too.
那前派回答说，我也相信复活，重生。
And I know about the verse in Colossians 3:1.
我也知道哥罗西书3章1节那里提到复活。
But that's not immediate context.
但是呢，那个并不是这里的紧邻的20章上下文。
You're just bringing something in from a distant passage.
你把一个哥罗西书那么远的经文，把它搬到启示录来讲解。
So I'm trying to get you to see this is not so easy.
我以上所讲，让你知道要谈这个题目不是那么容易。
Come on. Okay. Let's in fact then look at the immediate context in Revelation.
这样说来，我们立刻来看启示录第20章的紧邻的上下文讲什么。
And as I mentioned in the public lecture, I owe many of these ideas to Meredith G. Klein.
在公开讲座我已经说了，我得到这些的亮光，主要是从 Klein 学来的。
Klein wrote a scholarly article called The First Resurrection.
Klein 写了一篇很学术性文章，论到什么叫头一次复活。
It's in your bibliography.
是在你的这个讲义上书目里面。
And it appeared in the Westminster Theological Journal.
是在西敏神学志里面杂志，西敏神学出版的神学杂志期刊里出来的。
This article did most of what I show on this slide and the next few slides.
那篇文章所说的内容就在我这和下面几个投影会显露出来的。
But I think this one article is probably the most important contribution to the millennial issue since virtually the time of the apostles.
在我来说，我认为这一篇 Klein 写的文章是从使徒时代以来对千禧年这题目讲的最重要的一篇文章。
In my mind, it's at least the most important argument in several centuries.
那至少呢，在我心中，它是这几个世纪以来是最重要的一篇文章。
The reason is that before Klein wrote, the debates had been more or less the way I described them.
因为在 Klein 写这篇文章之前呢的那个大家辩论中，就像我刚刚所说的，各说各话都有道理啊。
And the amillennialists appealed to one set of passages, and the premillennials appealed to another set of passages.
吴谦就引用了一些圣经的经文，那钱就引用另外一些经文，互相来辩论啊。
And the premills always felt that appealing to regeneration was importing an idea that didn't belong in Revelation 20.
前派一直都是认为说，这个你说这头一次复活是指重生，他们这个是绝对不是启示录第2章要讲，是你从外面把它牵扯进来的。
So, however much amillennialists argued, the premillennialists were never persuaded.
那所以无论无谦派怎么样的去讲去辩论，前派绝对不会接受他们讲法。
But this article by Klein, in effect, takes on premillennialism on its own territory.
这 Klein 文章是Klein 进到了前派的立场里面，在里面提出这个挑战。
And he shows things based on the immediate context of Revelation, not John 3.
他是引用了启示录2章本身的简明上下文来指出这个前的问题，而不是用约翰福音第3章重生的经文来讲。
And indeed, after Klein's article appeared in print, it was responded to by Ramsey Michaels.
这个的确，当 Klein 文章出现之后呢，另外一个学者叫做 Michael， 他就回应了。
In the same journal, and that's in your bibliography too.
也在同样这个西敏神学期刊，也在你的这个阅读书目里面。
Now, Michaels is a premillennialist.
那 Michael 是一个前派的。
And I think to his credit, he saw that if this article stood with no challenge to it, premillennialism was dead.
从他的学术角度来看的话，如果这篇文章不回应的话，那么前派就垮了，就亡了。
He saw that it was crucial to give a response.
他看见是关键性，一定要回应了。
And he did.
他也的确是回应了。
But I don't think it was a very strong response.
但我认为他所回应并不够强，并不够有力。
You can read it for yourself, in the Westminster Journal if you want.
你可以自己读西敏神学期刊里面如果你愿意哈。
And then Klein, in turn, responded to Michaels in a third article.
然后呢，这个 Klein 就回应 Michael 写的文章，写的第3篇文章。
And that was the end of the discussion.
那就结束了这个讨论了。
For a technical reason.
有这个技术上的原因。
That the Westminster Theological Journal always brings the discussion to end after the third piece.
因为这个西敏神学期刊不愿意重复花很多时间讨论这个题目，他就当这个回应之后，第3篇东西登完之后，这个议题就结束了。
That's an editorial rule.
这是这个西敏神学期刊的编辑们的这个规则。
Because otherwise, there might be an unending series.
这样的话，对方回应第4篇，这个又回应第5篇，就没完没了了。
So that doesn't prove that Klein is right.
当然，这并不证明 Klein 是对的。
But again, read the articles for yourself.
同样，好好自己读这些文章。
And I think what Klein did was to crack open the debate and bring it to fresh insights to the whole debate.
我认为 Klein 是他的文章开辟了一个新的战场，带来新鲜的讨论。
because for several centuries, really, people had not been saying very much that was new.
那因为在大家之前几个世纪，大家所讨论看的都是炒冷饭，没有什么新的东西。
So the argument that Klein offered in his article has several points to it.
那这个 Klein 所回应的文章里面呢，你看有几个重点。
The first is the point in this slide that the whole surrounding passage is about first and last things.
那第一个他说的是启示录20到22章，整个讲到是关于首先和末后的事。
And of course, Klein lists several instances that show this is a major theme.
那这 Klein 就引出一些经文例子，说明这是论到起初，论到末后，这是整个20到22章的主题。
But then the crucial move is to apply this general insight to the language of first and second things as it occurs in Revelation 20.
所以20章第1到15节里面讲到头一次、第二次呢，正是在整个这个大的架构这个主题，就是第一、第二，首先末后这个大的架构里同样的这个主题。
And to confirm the insight by pointing out, as everyone would agree, that second death is not only second but last.
那至少大家都会同意说，20章14到15节是这个第二次的死一定是最后的哈。
So then you get this chart where you work out what's the meaning of the first death, because it's clearly implied by the language of the second death.
那这个图表说明什么？因为你知道第二次的死线，你开始在查考什么是第一，你就清楚知道什么是第一次的死。
And from the full teaching of Scripture, you know also what the second death is.
那从圣经清楚教导，你也知道什么叫第二次的死是终结的。
So that's standard teaching.
这就看到这样教导了吧。
What's not so standard is to see the larger pattern into which it fits in Revelation 20.
所以以上所说是很标准的这个模式教导，现在就是比较清楚，下面比较不清楚的部分如何来在这个框架里讨论呢？
So here is where Klein reaches the conclusion that the first resurrection is spiritual in character.
这里呢 Klein 达到结论说，所以第一次复活是指灵命的复活。
It's paradoxical because it's simultaneous with bodily death.
这是反合性的事，因为当你身体死的时候，你的灵魂到天上了。
Particularly the death of the martyrs.
特别是那个为主殉道死的人。
I forget whether Klein discusses it, but the martyrs are not super spiritual just because they're martyrs.
那我不记得 Klein 怎么细说，就是说至少肯定的是，这些殉道者不是指那特别低级的这个基督徒哦。
But they are a kind of leading or prominent case of what is true for every faithful Christian.
所以他们不是这个超级的最高的基督徒，而是代表总体所有基督徒的这样一个非常特殊显著的这一个见证。
So what applies in an intensive way to the martyrs applies also to every genuine Christian believer.
换句话说，这些殉道者基督徒他们所遭遇的，就代表所有真基督徒所遭遇的。
If we die in the body before Christ comes, we are still alive with Christ in the Spirit.
换句话说，所有基督徒包括我们在内，如果耶稣再来之前我们就死了，离开世界的话，
And at the moment of our bodily death, we go to be with Christ and or have a more intensive communion with Him in the heaven.
所以我们身体虽然死了，可是我们是活在天上，与主耶稣同在。
We have spiritual life, genuine life in union with Christ.
换句话说，我们在基督里与基督联合的那个生命是个活的生命，真的生命。
And that union includes an element of reigning with Him.
那个与基督联合的包含了与他一同作王。
Which is the point, according to Klein, of these thrones and the reign of the first resurrection.
这就是 Klein 就说，这就是所谓头一次复活与基督同作王真正的意义在这里。
And Klein sees this because of the symmetries that he sees in this first and last things.
Klein 看到这样子的交叉对应关系，他看到这个所谓头一次跟第二次之间的对比关系。
Now, I don't know the history of interpretation here in detail.
那当然，这里我不太知道这个所谓解释这样子的这个仔细的解经的历史的所有的细节过程。
But Klein's view is unusual.
但是我知道是 Klein 的讲法，从对照过去解经历史，它是很独特的。
At least most millennialists before Klein have thought that the first resurrection was regeneration.
因为这个在他之前这些大部分的无谦派都认为这个头一次复活是指重生。
But clearly that is not Klein's view.
当然这不是 Klein 的讲法了。
I've met some people who've read Klein and still think that the first resurrection is regeneration.
我碰过一些基督徒，他们读了 Klein 文章，他们还是认为20章启示录讲的是讲重生。
And of course, Klein does believe in the reality of regeneration.
当然 Klein 是相信真正是重生的，有重生是事实。
But he thinks that in the book of Revelation, the language of resurrection is being used in a different way.
但他认为这个在启示录里面讲到这一个复活，用的是一个另外一种方式来表达。
And the reason why he thinks so is because of the context.
那他认为这样的解释原因是因为上下文是这样子写明的。
And you may not agree with Klein, but I think the strength of it is in its thorough interaction with the immediate context of those chapters.
也许你不一定同意他所说，但我认为他的确是很认真的面对这个20章紧邻上下文带出来的结论。
So here's a summary of Klein's theory.
那这就是 Klein 的这个他的解释的，我们来看他的总结。
The righteous, the saints, the true Christians have one death.
这个义人这个基督徒圣徒他们只有死一次。
What is that?
什么意思？
Bodily death.
身体要死亡。
And they have two resurrections.
他们活2次复活啊。
The first of which is simultaneous with their death.
那第一次是当他们身体死亡的时候所发生的事情。
They go to be with Christ, but that life is actually far better, as Paul says, than what they had in this world.
他们离开世界与主同在，他们活在基督那里是比较起来好的无比，比今生的生命来说。
It's real life in communion with God through Christ.
那是真正的生命，是活在基督，在与他同在天上在一起，与他交通团契。
And in fact, though their bodies are not yet raised, they have communion with the resurrection of life of Christ.
虽然他们的身体还在坟墓里，可是他们的灵魂已在天上，与主耶稣亲密的交通合一了。
That resurrection life already belongs to them through Christ.
那样子的复活的生命已经属于他们那时候，因为他们已经在基督里。
Now, that's true in a down payment sense, even for us in this life.
那这个对今天我们还都活在世上来讲的这个凭据、这个头款、这个架构来说，还是真的。
Regeneration is the moment of our beginning to participate in the resurrection life of Christ.
那就是我们重生得救时就已经开始与耶稣的复活的生命是连在一起了。
Spiritually, we already have eternal life.
换句话说，当我们重生得救时，我们的灵命来说已经有了永生了。
Now, though I have to go outside of the context, I'll show you some passages.
所以现在必须离开这个紧邻上下文20章启示录来给你看其他经文了。
So let's read John 11.
我们请看约翰福音第11章
verses 25 and 26.
25到26节。
Read it together.
好，我们一起来念经。耶稣对他说：“复活在我，生命也在我。信我的人虽然死了，也必复活。凡活着信我的人，必永远不死。你信这话吗？”
As you know, this is in the context of Lazarus, who has died.
你知道这个上下文是拉萨路死在坟墓里的。
In verse 25, Jesus talks about the reality that people may die.
那第25章说到这个人会死这个实况。
That is, they may, in the language of Revelation, they may die the first death.
那这启示录20章的语言就是他们经历头一次的死。
But verse 26 is startling.
26节是很特别的。
Everyone who lives and believes in me shall never die.
凡活着信我的人，必永远不死。
But how can he say that?
主耶稣怎么能这样说呢？
Because plenty of Christian believers have died since then.
那因为从那以后，很多基督徒也是死了。
But you can see they've died in the first death.
那你看见是他们头一次的死了。
But they have eternal life through their union with Christ.
那他们与耶稣基督联合着永远的生命，继续活下去。
And that union is unbreakable.
那一个与主耶稣的联合是永不可分开的。
That union brings them through death, and they continue to live in the truest sense of the word.
那与主耶稣联合呢，虽然经过头一次死，仍然与主耶稣是联合，所以他们在天上与主耶稣在一起。